Instead of using the liquid acrylic in the tin, I prefer to use the glue type in the tube. That way I can get all coverage on all the parts I need without it evaporating while I'm waiting to put the part on the outside. Place the outer skin on, position it correctly, tape it down, and then the exciting bit, waiting for solvent to dry. We'll come back to this tomorrow. Today's mission is to prepare those 2 packs for feet, which will eventually be taking shape like this. And this has been slightly modified by myself so that the motor mount can be removed and inserted more easily than the original design. The thing about it is I've also found that with a heavier duty motor, which failed me once at the most inopportune moment, got very hot, melted the styrene and it fractured. I'll show an example of some of the old pieces of this plate in a few minutes. In the meantime, my own R2, the original one, I did upgrade that with an aluminium plate, which will also operated as a heatsink. Generally, if you keep something long enough, you'll eventually find a use for it. This time, it's just making it to a video. This is what happens when the plastic gets brittle. And you can see the stress fractures that have caused, that have emanated around the original drill hole. These ones weren't too bad, but I prefer a preventative maintenance. I don't like it breaking down if you've got it at an exhibition or some outlet. You can see with these screw holes, what I did was I inserted the screws, I applied some solvent around it so that it would ease up on the stress cracks. These would probably have been okay for a bit longer, but I decided it was time for a new set. Next step in this process is to chamfer from this line to that corner, which will become a base plate with that chamfer on it. So when your next part glues onto it, it has a nice flat gluing surface. There are another of other chamfers to do right around so that the other parts will slot in correctly, and when you glue it in position it becomes one solid piece. I also have examples of what not to do. About to repair a boo-boo. A sane person would make a new part. I just, for sake of demonstration, can show you how you can repair an old part piece by piece with the solvent. And there always has to be a spare part, probably from something else I butchered, and I'll find that a bit later. This foot was for a build I did a number of years ago that I didn't finish just yet. I do like to mark the parts right hand, left hand for matching purposes. The process today is to make this channel, which is to be correct because you fit the ankle in there and you bolt it in with this shoulder bolt. So what we make first is this part. So the shoulder bolt goes through here, there. The idea of this was to convert the droid from 3 feet to 2 feet so it could stand up. I don't bother doing that, I just leave it in the 3 feet configuration all the time. I happen to have these shoulder bolts as spares from when I did a purchase order a number of years ago. Always order more than you need just in case you'll use them one day. So I'm sticking with them for these plans. You don't actually need a shoulder bolt. Similar bolts will do, but following the plans for ease of instruction. I set the workpiece with the pre-punched hole to the block. All these 3 were glued together earlier. These three pieces were put together with the solvent earlier, with quite a lot of solvent around where I was going to drill the hole. This will be tapped for a thread for the shoulder bolts to bolt into. It's been set up. I have aligned it in my vise. I'm just going to drill it through now. When you tap the plate, you have to do it at 90 degrees. Otherwise, when you try and reassemble it later, it's off at an angle, nothing's going to line up, and your R2 will look a little bit special. He definitely won't move correctly. So my process for this is, because I've changed the drill bit without moving the position of the vise, I just bring it down by hand, places it into the hole, and I just start tapping, putting a little bit of pressure as I twist the tap to go in through the plates. Now, I'll bring it back out slowly, letting it out under its own volition. This way I'm not messing the threads up. As my drilling center was already set up, I've swapped over to a 10mm drill. This is for the shoulder bolts to fit through from the other plate. The next process will be joining all the strips to the faceplate. So they will fit down like that. I suggest at this stage, because we've already made the ankle, we would fit the ankle first, screw it nice and tightly together, then glue these blocks to the base plate. So when you separate the shoulder bolt when it's hard, you will have the correct channel and the correct angle for the plate. And now finish the tapping process with the hand tap. A slight nip up with the Allen key, and we have some perfect threads in the three pieces that have been laminated together. Using the ankle, the shoulder bolt and all the parts, temporarily assemble them. You know the next plate that you're going to put through is here. When you glue it down and you align everything, you know that when you strip the part and try and assemble later on when they're completed components, that they will align properly. We now have the foot center part with the correct positioning and the correct parallel, and we can start building the foot now. Once we're happy that it is adequately dried, I will square everything up and file everything up at a later stage, and I'll show you that process as we go.